Okay, so welcome to episode number 6. Today, as promised last week, we're going to be talking about vision boards and manifesting and making a mind movie and setting a clear intention as we step into the future that we're looking to create. This is a really meaningful time to do it because we are right now changing seasons, so we're moving into spring. And the solstice and the equinox are really good markers for us to do all kinds of things. So some people like to do cleanses at this time or to change the way we're eating so that we're eating seasonally. Or maybe it's just a time to kind of like reflect on how things have gone for you and where you're going to be going and any kind of changes you might want to make. I don't really believe in like setting necessarily resolutions, especially just the cheesy kind of New Year's ones that most people don't ever end up keeping. But I do think that it is valuable for us to really mark a path for ourselves and to be clear with both ourselves and the universe what it is that we're looking for and what it is that we want to attract towards ourselves. So this is something that really helps in the micro and macrocosm because we need to know, first of all, at the higher level, what is that we're looking for. What kind of life do we want? What are we going to do if we are the architect of our life? What kind of building do we want to build? How do we want to curate our mind? What kind of thoughts do we want to think? So now we're getting down from the big dream level to just even inside our own mind, what kind of environment do we want to live in? And then not just our own mind, but what kind of body do we want to live in? So now we're going to be thinking about what kind of foods we're eating, what kinds of things we're consuming, not even just for food, but even just for the toxins of TV and media and all kinds of things, what kind of people we're going to hang out, what kind of energy we surround ourselves with. And this trickles down to the body too, because as we make these kinds of big goals for ourselves, actionable things with our mind and our body, these things become the actions that hopefully we take that shape our bodies too. So how healthy are we going to be? What kind of sleep are we going to get? What kind of, even down to the cells. So the cells are listening to whatever your mind is telling them. So it's a very powerful connection that moves down from the spirit into the mind, the heart into the body, and all the way down to the cellular level, because everything listens. So when your body thinks a thought, it tells that and it communicates it to the rest of your body. So what kind of life do we want for ourselves all the way from the top to the bottom? And this is why I really love doing vision boards. So these ones are really powerful to me just because of the amazing results I've had with them. So I can't remember what year it was that the Secret came out, and for any of you that was my first discovery and introduction into what manifesting really was. And I gotta tell you, I'm a bit of skeptic of everything, so when I first heard it, I was like, whatever, that's kind of cheesy. It was an interesting movie to watch. I did buy the book after. And I thought, okay, there's some believability to it for me in the sense that, positive thinking, even if you don't end up getting the things that you want in the current moment, if you felt more positive and you were looking at the blessings you had, that in the end that would result in somehow a better quality of life down the road, whether you actually could manifest any money or a career or the love of your life or whatever the Secret was claiming you could manifest. But I did believe at some level that just, that you're in control of your own thoughts and that, what kind of thoughts do you want to have and what kind of actions do you want to bear fruit from those thoughts. So the first time I made a vision board, and I think I've talked about this in some of the other videos or at least in my blog, but I'm going to review it again just because it's so pertinent to this topic today. But the very first time I ever made a vision board was in 2019. And I had done sort of like mind movies before and just kind of meditating on things I wanted. But this was the first time that I actually, got out construction paper, got some magazines, sat down, and I did this project for the first time with my kids. And we did this, and I think it was maybe even during the first lockdown that we had in Toronto when the schools closed due to the COVID. So I was like, okay, how are we going to have something to do to entertain ourselves? I wasn't a homeschool mom yet, so I didn't really have a lot of things, on the back burner where I was like, oh, we can do this or we'll learn this. So this is one of those things I just thought, oh, this is a project I always kind of thought about doing. we'll all do it together. My partner was home on the day we did it too, so I included him into it because he always, whether he believes all the things I do or not, is such a willing participant. He's beautiful that he just goes along with whatever I'm suggesting. So we all sat down and we did our board. And to be honest, I don't know how serious everybody else really took their boards, or if it was just kind of something fun to do. So I don't really know the results of what their boards are. I could probably pull them out. I bet I kept them somewhere to look and see if any of their things came true. But I know for mine, I had put down on that first board that it was a picture of mountains and it was a picture of outer space. And when my family asked me, like, why did I put those pictures there? I said, what I really want is more time and space, because I always feel so rushed. I feel like every day we're going, from one task to the next. And, my life then, especially before I had my partner as a single mom, those first, hard years when my kids were little, everything was like, rush, rush, rush. My whole relationship with them was like, okay, get your coat. Where's your bag? Did you get that? Let's hurry up and go. It was to daycare. Then I had to get to work and then back. And then we're going in the car from aftercare to brownies to scouts. It was a lot of rushing around. And I was like, I want time and space. Now, that got delivered to me, but not at all in the way I anticipated, which is why I think with manifesting, you kind of got to be sometimes a little more clear on what you mean by what you want, because the universe did provide it to me. And in the end, I was really grateful for it, but I was pretty confused and actually a little off put by this gift when I first received it, because then we have, at that time, I didn't think COVID was very serious or the pandemic. I thought it would all just blow over. But I thought it was just media hype. But no, everybody went crazy. So we ended up being in, at least Canada did some of the longest lockdowns of all over the world. So that was a long time for us. I ended up working from home, which again is something I'd always wanted, but I wanted the option to do it sometimes. And I didn't think about doing it with my kids at home with me. And then after that happened, and I'm now working at home and my kids are home also, then I get this severely disabled from this last relapse. And now I'm got all the space and time in the world because I can't even leave the couch. And at first I was confused why the universe gave me that. But like all things, sometimes when you're on the right path, synchronicities will come into place and things will work out. And I do always knew that career I was in wasn't really something that was making me happy, even though at some point I had really manifested to have the financial district job, King and Bay, and fancy downtown house and life. Once I was in it, I knew that wasn't really what was making me happy. So maybe this relapse in a way in this in manifesting time and space, that 2 years on the couch, I mean, I had meditated in my life and I had done yoga a lot, but I had never had this kind of time where I wasn't watching TV, I wasn't listening to music, I wasn't speaking with other people. I really was like, it was almost like I went to go how some of these monks go sit in a cave for, long periods of time. I did that, but just in my own body and in my own mind, in the safety of my living room. And I felt like times that was punishment, but in the end, it was kind of beautiful, because not very many people get a chance to really get to know themselves so well and to find out what it is you really want out of life and start thinking about how I can pursue it. And here I am now on the new path, and worked out beautiful. Also on that vision board, I had put down a beautiful backyard that was landscaped with a fire pit and lots of people around. Because one of the things I had disliked about my downtown Toronto location, even though I did have a fire pit and I did have a pretty nice backyard as far as Toronto standards, it was small. My house was small. It was very hard to host in it because there was such a closed concept. You couldn't have a lot of people in one space. So in the end, I ended up living in outside of the city, and my new backyard's got a swimming pool and an English garden and a big fire pit and lots of area for hosting, and we've had lots of parties in the backyard. So I did actually manifest as well. The one thing that was really stood out for me on this one, because you can say some of those things were just kind of general and maybe not that specific, but I had at the end of that vision board, I had written down handwriting on the top of it, a quote that said, "Discipline is the difference between what you want now and what you want most." And I've always been a very disciplined person, and I've always been really good at setting goals and achieving them. But I had wanted, as part of thinking about leaving, even though I was doing renovations at the time, I made that vision board. Once I'd made the decision to leave the city and move somewhere else, I really wanted a location where my kids would grow up the way I did, which was a really safe neighborhood. The Toronto neighborhood started having a lot of violence and gun issues near there, and it didn't feel like a place really for kids anymore. So I was like, I want them to live where I lived, where there was all kinds of kids on the street. We knew all of our neighbors. It was really safe outside until the sun went down. So the house that I ended up buying out of the city, when I brought my kids for the first time to come and have a look at it, and we just parked out front of it, it was just like the house that I had lived in. It was beside the public school. And the park where I grew up was called Berwick. This one was Beswick. And there was this quote about discipline on the sign, and their quote was a little bit different. I think it was discipline is what bridges dreams to or accomplishments, or I can't remember exactly what it says, but I was like dumbfounded looking at that sign and I could not believe it. And I'm like going to my kids, like, oh my God, can you believe this? Like, look at what this sign says, discipline. As soon as we went home, I pulled out the vision board. I was like, look what I wrote on the vision board. Like, we really did completely, I manifested this new reality for us. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I'm now in the relapse. I've got the space and time. And I had really been wanting to be part of the homeschool community that I had helped to create. But the relapse made it very difficult for me to get back to the yurt, which is quite a ways back on a farm property. So one day we get the kids, and it was actually, I think about it too, it was the equinox too, right where we are right now. So, and 2 years ago. And I was quite sick then. So I was having a hard time seeing and I could barely stand. I was walking with a cane. And so we ended up cramming all the kids into the house that's up near the front of the property. And we do the vision boards. And again, maybe, I don't know, with the kids, because they don't really take it too serious. They're goofing around and just trying to have fun and make theirs sillier than their friends. I don't know how much the project really turned into something meaningful for them. But again, for me, it was meaningful. So on my board, I had put down that I wanted my kids to be out in nature. And I put down that I wanted to be surrounded in beautiful gardens. And then I had put down, just again, after I'd cut my pictures out and put things that had just inspired me, I just hand wrote at the top a sine wave of showing energy with a line showing like a fraction or division equation, so over. And at the bottom, I just put a bunch of dots representing particles or matter. And the idea in my mind was that it was energy over matter. And then I don't know, it might have been like a year later or more. I can't remember the exact dates of this, but I had gone to do a colonics in 2 towns away from me. So not even one that was close to me. It just randomly got booked in this one that was quite far for me to go to. And while I was there, I am looking at the sign and inquiring, what is PEMF? Why would I need to do this? Why would I want to do this? And the lady says to me, oh, you know what? My boss is on the machine. She's in the back, but I'm sure she won't mind. Do you want to come and have a look at it? I'll show it to you. She brings me back there, and again, serendipitously, the lady has the same disease that my family member has, who's quite sick his whole life. And I couldn't believe that how different the two of them were. One had followed the allopathic Western medicine of suppressing the immune system and later developed subsequent autoimmune conditions, diabetes, and other things that can come from suppressing your immune system, and also living that as if you think that you're okay because you've masked your symptoms, but really you needed to do some lifestyle changes that were getting at the root of it. And then here's this lady who is standing up straight, looks like she could be a dancer. Her body and her posture is so fantastic. And she had done the complete opposite. She's doing things like coffee enemas and is eating organics and is doing this PEMF. So I learned now it's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. She offers to just lay me on the machine right then. And she says she's so confident it can help me as well that she'll give me a couple free sessions when I'm coming to do colonics. So I take her up on this, and oh my goodness, nothing for me in my life has so quickly moved the dial on any condition or any symptom I had. And I've had great results with acupuncture. And in the past, like ozone therapy, there was a bit of dramatic results in the beginning with that. But with this one, I lay it on that machine and it was instantly, my mood lifted for the first time since the relapse, and even since COVID for that matter. I had been happy, and I was contemplating how pretty the clouds looked. And all of a sudden I caught myself and I thought, wow, my mood, boom, lifted just in 10 minutes. And then by the end of that session, when I went outside, I literally was like, lights turned back on. I could read the street signs. I could see the lights, the colors. And it was amazed. And I was so happy, and so was my partner. So we started coming back regularly to get treatments. But because it was a drive and I can't drive, I have to get someone to take a day off work to drive me plus pay for the treatments. It got expensive. And in the end, I thought, I'm just going to buy a machine and I'm going to treat myself. And on one of my darker days, I had prayed that if God had given me an answer to help myself, that I promised that I would help other people. And that's where I am. That's where I am here today, is making good on that promise I made, because I was given the answers on what could help me. And I can't guarantee that these things will help you either, or that your vision board will bring you anything like the results I had, but I believe that it can. And I think that for you, belief will matter a lot too. And like, what do you believe? Because part of manifesting isn't just saying, oh, I want this thing. Oh, I want to be better. I want to be healthier. Because just saying that, but then living like a sick person and living in the complaints and the grief and the sorrow and the isolation of your condition isn't going to manifest you anything. And I know, and I'm not saying this to be hokey or to just blow off the reality of your situation, because I have literally been on the floor and had to crawl before. I understand how dark things can get. But even in that moment, getting back to manifesting, is when I was really ill and I couldn't do yoga anymore because I couldn't move myself into poses in the beginning. Eventually I got into being able to do yin yoga, and then to just on the ground, and eventually standing. My balance poses are still struggle a bit, but right, it's a work in progress, and there's no judgment, because I am getting where I want to go. But I started with Joe Dispenza's videos, because he is so motivational to listen to, because he knows and he believes that people can heal. And he's had so many stories of miraculous, spontaneous healing. And I believe those things are possible. And like, I know it does sound hokey, like, oh, you're saved and all of a sudden you walk again. I don't think it's quite as easy as that. And I don't really think it can just come from somebody else saving you. But I really do believe that if you can tap into the quantum field, all things are still possible for you there. And in order to get there, you have to do more than just say you want something, right? You really have to start to understand that your consciousness is what brings the prana, the chi into your body, and that your body and your mind are really a process, right? Your body is not a thing. It's not a noun. Your body is a verb. It's an action. Your body's a process. It starts at conception, and right from that moment, it starts the process of growing, and it expands, and then it becomes a fetus, and then into an infant, and then up you go, and up until the end. And it's the same thing. You die in a process too. And the end, when you take that last breath and the chi or the prana leaves you, that's your consciousness is now done with the process of this mind and body. And everywhere in between that process, you can have sickness and health. So unless you have something that happened to you, like a genetic disorder you're born with, or you had a limb that you don't have anymore, that's something that maybe there's you don't manifest your way out of that. But the other illnesses that are lifestyle ones, things like MS and most of the diseases we live with, if you were well at one point and you got sick, you can be well again. And you need to believe that. And you need to know that no matter where you are right now, even if it is crawling on the floor, that you can eventually stand back up. And I know I'm a testament to that too, because they told me that this was my disease progression after this long, and that I'm not going to get better. And I keep proving that wrong. And I did it without the medication too. And I'm not suggesting here that you stop taking your medication, or I'm not giving you any medical advice here. I think that you are your own best judge, and you work with the medical team that you trust, including yourself. That you're your best advocate. I'm just saying that for myself, that was the path I wanted to go on, and it has worked. But you have to really believe in it. And you have to live in the fact that these things are already here. So if you understand how the quantum physics work, then really we live in the multiverse where all things are happening and they're all a potential. And so it's just like the infinity that I tattooed on my back when I was younger, not quite understanding the philosophy and how it would work out for me. But over the years, knowing that we are energy. And as we move around, And you could look at this again, micro and macrocosm, because we could be talking about just the decision of today. So what we've done today is going to dictate, how we slept. We'll take that as an example. How we slept is the one loop, and how we slept when we get to the first crossroad is going to determine whether we have a short fuse and we yell at our kids instead of being compassionate and understanding. And then that choice is going to lead us into the next moment. And then when we get into traffic, now we're already triggered and we're going to be angry again. Or we can go back and say, no, I decided to go to bed early when I was tired and I turned my phone off and I didn't bring it to my room with me and I got the good sleep. So when I got here, I made the next good decision and that decision. And then you can see here that each decision is a type of manifesting because you're manifesting the next thing that's coming around, and each choice is bringing you into the next either negative or positive one. So that's just on the small level. But when you want to look at the big things in your dreams and the direction of where you're wanting to go, when you get around and you're making now big choices like, am I going to change my career? Am I going to change my diet drastically, like the way you need to do if you're going to go on an anti-inflammatory diet? When you get to these bigger kinds of ones, you need to know at that moment, do I think this decision is worth it? And in thinking it's worth it, it means, do I think it's possible that there's a different future for me? So you're not going to get to this moment and say, I'm going to give up all of the birthdays and the cakes and the barbecue and the beers and the celebrations and eating at restaurants and eating the way I used to eat, and even the ease of just being able to just get in my car, and if I'm hungry, you just pull over at the interstop and you just get something to eat. No, when you make this decision now, you got to grocery shop with and spend more money on this kind of food. You have to prep everything. You have to plan everything. You're not going to make every little decision that you come across in life to manifest the thing that you really want if you don't start with the belief that making that decision is going to change anything. So while you're laying there on the floor and you want to walk again, or you can't see right now, your vision's impaired, or whatever issue it is that you're having, you're overweight, you want to lose the weight, you have to start with believing that whatever new decision you're going to make in the future is already yours. It's possible. It's decided. It is done. It just requires you to set the intention, have the belief, and then actually, it's not just as easy then as saying, oh, I just want that, so it's going to happen. I believe anyway that you need to then put in all of the actions, the mini things that are going to get you to there, which means that then once you decide, okay, I think it's possible, if I will use diet as an example again, we started there. Once I believe that if I change my diet, that I will heal myself. And you really believe that, and you see the vision of yourself, you put it down in a vision board, you've made a mind movie, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but you believe that it's possible that you're gonna change. It makes it possible then for you to, once you've made this intention to the universe that you said, I believe this is possible in the future, I'm already grateful for the gift of healing that I have, and I'm grateful for this new energetic, vital body, and I love all of these things, and I'm so grateful for them. And the healing has already happened, and that is one of the potentials in your future. There's many potentials in your future, and the one that you're going to pick, then, if you believe that that's possible, and it'll be so. So then that means that now, once you're on that path, and vision boards help with this because you're reminded, you're looking at them. Once you see that all the time, then that means that now you have to back those up, that belief up with thoughts. So the thought is now that I'm going to do this today. Or even if you cheat or you fall off or something happens, the thought is, well, it's not a complete failure. I don't suck. I'm not a failure. I can still do it. I'm going to get back up. I'm going to do it again. All these little thoughts you have along the way too. I know the one that was blocking me with diet in particular was, I felt in the beginning hurt by the fact that people weren't supporting me and my family. I felt hurt when people would show up to my house and they would bring donuts or they would bring cakes, or everybody wanted to have all the birthday parties at my house, which again, I know I asked for because I bought this house that was going to be the house where everybody would want to hang out in my backyard in the pool with the barbecue, the smoker. But now I'm angry though a little bit too, because I'm thinking, well, it's so unfair, because why am I the only one that's got to eat this way, right? Everybody else, I'm going to even host the parties and clean up the mess and buy all this food, and I'm the only one that doesn't eat it. And I'm always, every time I go to a barbecue now or go to somebody's birthday, I can't eat there. So now I have to pack my own food, and then everybody wants to talk about it. Well, why are you eating that? And now, and I remember even before too, like I had a family member that was celiac, and I kind of did judge them a little bit too, because I used to just think they were just a picky eater, and I didn't really understand until I was in the situation and got some compassion for it, how much sensitivities and food issues can really affect people's lifestyle. So, you know, that thought process there too was such a negative thought for me, thinking that way. And I really had to switch that to where now when I look at my diet, I think, how lucky I am that I can afford to buy this food, and how lucky I am that because I don't have to go to work now and I'm at home, that I have time to prep my food, and that I have time to show my family how much better it is to eat the way I do, and that they actually like the way I eat. Now, do they still eat McDonald's ice creams and sundaes, and do they still bring chips in? And yeah, all that stuff still happens, but they actually love what I eat, and they can't wait to eat my dinners. And they actually, when I was out of town for a while and they were eating with my partner who still fed them a lot of takeout, everybody was sick when I came back, and they were all saying, "Oh, we can't wait to eat your food again." So now I look at the whole food thing so much differently, because each decision gets easier, because I don't tell myself the thoughts anymore that don't align with the ultimate vision of, I think that my diet can heal me. Well, if I think my diet can heal me, I need to start having thoughts that support that. And the thoughts are going to be that it's a blessing to eat this way, that every time I eat a piece of food, it's in communication with my body, and that body then communicates back to my mind and back to my divine spirit. And when I'm eating things that was intended for me, natural things that are not modified and things that aren't full of pesticides, that my body loves that and it understands that information. And so I'm creating this new body. And then you make that decision down even next to the next level. So it's not just now about the thoughts you're having, but once your vision lines up with the thoughts, it's going to fall into the action. So now it becomes so much easier for me to make small decisions like fasting for a few more hours every morning, or deciding between am I going to eat the apple right now if I'm hungry, or am I going to, even if it's something that's healthier, but like say a gluten-free thing, well, those aren't really that good for you either. That's not that beneficial. So the small decisions get to matter. And in this case, I never really was overweight, so that wasn't my goal. Like, I changed my diet just because I was so sick, and I thought before I was pretty healthy. And I know some of it was losing my muscle mass from being an athlete down to just being on the couch, but I lost a lot of weight, and I didn't do it for the first time in my life without trying to diet. I didn't even contemplate losing weight or dying. It was just a byproduct of all of this new intention I set of healing myself. So that's just one example of so many things and how that can work out for you. So I really think the vision boards work. And then the next thing I really did was making a mind movie. So there's even some apps, and I can't think off the top of my head the name of it, but I bet if you Google it, you can figure it out pretty easy. There's probably even multiple versions of it now, because I think it was pretty successful. But you can, instead of having a vision board, you can put in sort of like your own clips, your own photos. You can make a soundtrack for it. Like, I know for myself that the two Mind movies that I made, both of the songs for me was, and sorry, my terrible singing voice, but because I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. And the thing about the movie that I like too is it becomes a complete sensory experience. So for me, the first one was I really wanted to hike with my dog. So in my mind, I would play this movie over and over of coming down the stairs. And I mean, when I'm doing it, I'm coming down the stairs the way I used to, where I'm like, ba-boom, 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 hopping down the stairs, all happy, not holding the railing. Now, when I go down, I really have to consciously hold the railing. I have to look where my feet are going because my balance is still off. But in my dream, I'm ba-boom, ba-boom, boom, down the stairs. I'm just running out, grabbing my keys, hearing the keys jingle. I'm making a coffee to go. I'm smelling the smell of the coffee. I'm whistling to my dog, listening to him click, click, click on the floor to join me, getting in the car, seeing the smile on his face in the rearview mirror. And in this case, actually, I'm picturing driving from my real driveway to a park that's near me, a hiking trail. And in the vision, I'm actually turning my hands on the wheel and signaling where each stop sign and light would be in real life. And I'm hearing the song, and I'm opening the window, and I'm feeling the wind, and I'm getting the whole sensory experience, because it makes it more real for you if you can go beyond just trying to visually imagine something. Like, all the other senses get in there. And that one, it did come true partway because I didn't quite get healthy enough before, unfortunately, the dog passed away. But my new puppy, though, I'm taking her hiking now, and I'm not driving there yet, but I am hiking with her, which is already in itself a win. From going from not being able to even walk to the bathroom or stand up to hiking is amazing. So I'm going to take that still as an absolute win because I know in my mind I'm going to get there. I'm going to drive my car again. I didn't sell my car. It's sitting on the driveway. I still have my partner drive it just to keep it running because I know that I'm going to drive the car again. That is my car. I'm going to be driving it. These are all the things I'm going to be doing because I deserve that other life, and that is my life. It's ahead of me. Other My movie was about kayaking, which I think I already talked about too, just because I did that in Costa Rica, and that one I've already been able to do as well too. And so envisioning kayaking somewhere beautiful, and even the fact that it was somewhere beautiful too, because in my vision of it, it was somewhere tropical where it was just like that beautiful color that's just different than the dark lakes we have in Canada. And I've done that now. So, I mean, again, these things all do work out. Again, I'm just going to reiterate for all of you, though, don't just leave it at just telling the universe you want this thing and then just hoping that it's just going to fall in your lap. Like I said, you have to align your consciousness, your spirit, with your mind, with your intellect, with your emotions, with your body, all the way down to your cells. That means that you are required to take physical action in the real world that's going to support the vision that you want for yourself. And the more you do all those things and you synchronize them all together, the more powerful it becomes. Because another place where I think that a lot of people go wrong when they're making their vision boards is they muddle up the message to the universe. Now, this is not to say that you need to have like false positivity every day where when you're having a bad day or something doesn't work out, you're like, oh, it's okay. Everything's wonderful. I'm not suggesting that because I don't think that you should repress emotions. We're given all the emotions because you're supposed to feel them. You're just not supposed to cling to them. So you're supposed to just open yourself up and the emotions will just flow through you. So if there's a moment to cry, cry, but then don't stay there. Don't wallow in the misery. Don't ruminate on negative things, right? You have the moment, you get pissy, whatever happens, express it and then you move on. What this really is, though, is setting the intention. So if you're saying to yourself, we'll use money for an example, because this one I think a lot of people get confused signals to the universe on. If you're saying that you want to manifest money because you've had money problems in the past, and you're like, I want to be wealthy and I want, whether it's a business to work out, I want a bigger house, I want a new car. And you're saying all those things, but at the same time, you're constantly saying things like, well, everybody who's rich got there because they're shady or because, they've taken advantage of other people or because you can only realize, whatever other messages you're sending to yourself that like capitalism is negative and that so if you succeed it somehow makes you a bad person or that you think that like you would feel guilty somehow too with the money when it happened to you. You can't like hold all like dual conflicting thoughts at the same time because the universe isn't going to understand what you want, and that's where a lot of us get into suffering and chaos because it's not even here just with manifesting. Let's not even think about that. That's because what's going to manifest to it. This is just true in general. Like your worldview needs to be pretty consistent and it needs to make sense. And I'll talk about that maybe in another one because that one's going to require me to sit down and give some thought to how I exactly want to present that. I have given it a lot of thought for myself, but I don't really feel prepared right now to talk in depth about it. But you can't hold parallel conflicting thoughts at the same time and have them make sense in your life, and definitely not in a sense of manifesting. The universe does want to provide. If you pray and ask for something, the universe wants to give it to you. Like, I know that it feels like our life is full of suffering and full of a lot of pain. And I think for a lot of us, the reason that is because we are always just at the mercy of whatever is just going on. We just accept it. We don't really set intentions. We don't really set goals. We're just on autopilot. And if you just accept things as they fall into place around you, two things happen. First, you don't really ever move towards what it is you want. And also, how do you know to be grateful when you get it if you didn't even ask for anything? Because a lot of life, and I've said this to you before, I think the number one thing you're going to do that will change your life is gratitude. And gratitude is easy to find when you're looking for it because you know what it was you wanted. Like sometimes you don't notice because you didn't know that you needed to notice, because you didn't really care where you were going. You were just got in the boat and just down the river you went, but you didn't. So then you don't notice that you've passed something beautiful because you didn't ask to see it. Your eyes maybe weren't even looking now for anything. I don't know if that was really a good analogy for that, but I hope that you got what I mean there, is that setting intentions and setting goals, although yes, you can fail and come short of your goal, when you achieve your goal, you can be grateful. And not even just in a goal sense, but just when you just wanted to witness or to observe something. So like all things, this is where we come back, where I thought about vision boards in the beginning and law of attraction was just in the noticing. So maybe it wasn't actually that you were going to get all these things dropped into your lap, but maybe you were just going to start noticing more of the thing you wanted in your life because maybe it was already there. And this could be true too. So, I mean, even at a basic level, if that's all your vision board or thinking about what you want out of life gives you, that's really a win too. Because whatever we're looking for, we will find. And that is true both in a positive and in a negative way. So if we're always feeling like life is out to get us, then it will be. And not necessarily because it's out to get us any more than it would have if we didn't have that thought, but because we're holding that thought as a predominant thought in our mind, we're becoming more observant of it. And we're seeing, oh, yeah, there's another example of why things didn't work out. And oh, there's another one. Instead of if we started to say, you know what, everything is going to work out. My life is blessed. I'm grateful. Things just are always working out lately. You'll start to notice all the things that work out. And this is why I really love gratitude. And we'll talk about it just briefly again then, because it's so important. Gratitude really, really gives you that. We're prone to negativity by nature. We can't help it. It is a survival thing. It is part of our base material body and mind. But we can rise above it because we are our spirit and we are consciousness, and our mind is creative and it is inspired and it does love beauty. And gratitude is a real good way to get to that place where you notice the beauty, and it helps you to be creative and to feel open and receptive to life. And that's something you should bring into your vision board then. As you look at your vision board, feel the gratitude of those things already having happened to you. And when they do happen in any way that they come, be grateful for it and really experience it and really savor it. Because a lot of times, even when things come to us, we don't really spend a lot of time being grateful for them. We just move on right away. Now, happiness really is only ever little moments, like we just said about emotions. I mean, they just come and they go. You don't grasp to them, because the grasping can, even if it's to happiness, can actually cause suffering in and of itself. Because grasping means you think there's a lack or you're not going to have it again. Where when we're manifesting and we're open to everything, we understand that everything is an open flow system and it comes straight from the universe. It comes from our divine consciousness. And when we tap into that, we start to understand there's no reason to grasp and there's no reason to feel suffering or in lack, because all things will come to us more. Because if you're an open, like, think of money, even money like this too. People who feel like they're broke all the time and talk about it all the time and check their bank account all the time, you're attracting more broke into your life because you're constantly saying, I don't have, there's lack. And you'll get more of that lack. Where if you always feel like it's an open flow, because money is, I mean, you are born with no money, you die and you can't keep the money. So, I mean, that even just in that sense right there, that just shows you the impermeableness of money. It is, we make money, we spend money, it comes and it goes throughout our life, right? We start and we have no money. Our parents have to do everything for us. Even as we become a teenager, we might get a job and it might not pay very much, but we have disposable income because we don't have any bills. So we get to just blow that money. And then all of a sudden we have all this student debt maybe that comes to us later. We buy a house, we get strapped down to the mortgage. You really get sandwiched in the middle. So even though you're making more money because your career hopefully is doing well in the middle of your life, you're supporting children, you might have aged parents, and then you retire and everything goes in reverse again and the money starts going out. It's not coming in. So when we start to understand that money is not a goal in and of itself. Just like our body is a process, money is a process too. It's an open flow system. And once you open yourself to that, it's easy to manifest and to receive more out of the universe. So stop saying to yourself that you're broke and you don't have, and just start saying like, the universe will provide for me. That's even, I know not everybody's religious, but give us this day our daily bread. We're not looking to accumulate a ton of bread because bread goes bad. We're only looking for our daily bread. And when you start to see things like that, if you had enough for today, then be grateful, and then you don't have to feel in lack. And even if you didn't manifest the $1 million you put down on your vision board yet, it didn't matter, because today you're taken care of. Today you're here. Today is the only day that you get. So we're living in the now, and then we do have the things we already wanted. And I don't know if that makes sense. You can see it all starts to kind of come together, that it is tapping into the quantum field, but it's also changing your thought process about how you're going to receive, and how you're going to manifest that in a physical, material, three-dimensional world. And so another example of this one would be, so it's not just even in your body and in your finances, but even in your health too. And this is the one where I think if you're coming here because of MS, I really want you to understand that too. And look at some of the other inspirational people around you. So if it's not just me here talking to you and saying how much things can change, I'm pretty sure if you guys have MS, you all know who Dr. Terry Walls is. But this was somebody, like, her story is very motivational as well too, that was like in a tilt recline wheelchair for years. And she's back up now and is lecturing and is helping people, and is, I think she had just posted recently, and I don't know the timing of when the video was released, but is running again. And her, very much like myself, she was an athlete before this, and I had never done a full marathon, but was doing half marathons. And so again, this is somebody who, and even for my fitness, again, open flow system has changed. When I was younger, I never liked gym. I never would have thought of running. That the thought of that would have just like turned me right off. Like, who would just run for fun? But it was something that developed later in my life. And then now the loss of it, and I can't do it. That's on my new vision board. So, because I want to run again too. And so, yes, can I walk and I can hike a little bit now, not for the a length of time that I would like, or the steepness of trails or the difficulty, but one step at a time. And again, even if I didn't manifest completely what I want, I know it's in my future. I know it's coming, and I know that I'm going to run. So that's on my new vision board that I made. And maybe I'll even take a picture of my vision board, and I'll let you guys have a look at it at the end of this. But this time I put down a lot of stuff about my dog in there, because I am training her to be a service dog. So I really want that to work out. And that's one of the goals I've set for my future. And then I also want to get the front of my house redone. And it's the quotes coming in for that are a little out of my budget. So I'm manifesting that right now too. I don't usually do material things, but in this case, I love sitting at the front of my house. We have so many birds and it's so lovely, but it is aged from the old couple that I bought it from, and it needs some work. So I'm manifesting that one. And then also manifesting running again. And then the balance poses in yoga. So because I am a yoga teacher, I do really want to be able to help my students develop their practice. And that means for myself that I also have to get myself back up to where I used to be. Now, mostly I work with people that also have issues as well. So my clientele might not be people who are looking to do some more advanced yoga poses. But I mean, I want to be able to be the example that shows that wherever they're at on their path, that there's still all of these potentials for them. So I want to be not only just for myself, to get back to where I want to be, but I want to be a shining example to other people of how far you can go. So even if I'm working with my clients right now and it's just going to be, down low on the floor where it's safe for them, I want them to get to the same place that I want to get to too. So that means that I've got to be a really good example, and I'm going to get there. And this time on the vision board, instead of putting a quote down, it's the same thing as talking about is setting a New Year's resolution, and most of the time they don't work. The last couple of years from New Year's resolution, instead of picking an exact specific goal, I just made words. So I made kind of like a mantra, like these are the things, affirmation. This is what the kind of spirit of the things that I'm trying to envision this year. So connection and vitality were the words I used this year. So I did include those along with the word balance on my board, because balance, and I'm not just meaning balance in that case for the actual balance poses, but I mean just balance in general. So I know for myself, I don't ever want to go back to where I was before, where I was so intensely focused in my career, or even at this point now where I'm so homebodied because I can't do very many things. I want balance again. So I want to be able to strike a balance. Mentally, emotionally, in the practical world, all around. I just want to overall have a balance. And that even means with the diet now, too. So I really strictly followed the MS diet now for almost 3 years, and it has really changed my health. I know that definitely it's done a lot of things. But at this point, as you start to like detoxify your body and get healthier, I would like a balance to be found in there too, where like on the rare occasion, if I'm actually at a barbecue and somebody offers me a piece of cake for their kid's birthday. Like I'd like to be able to like once in a while have that without the risk of like, oh my goodness, the gluten's going to set me off, or I'm going to put myself back by that. And so I don't know if I'm ready there mentally because I'm scared of setting myself back, but I would like the balance in the future of that too, because I think that in most things in life, like an 80-20 rule is the best practice, where most of the time you're, paying your bills and working out, eating organics, but you need to have a little wiggle room where you just get to indulge yourself, which is actually one of the things I put up now that I think about that I did put on my vision board, which was get rewarded. And so I would like to see a reward for hard work and the discipline and the things that I put into my life. And I would like that to come for you too. So I don't know what it is you're going to put on your vision board. I don't know what it is that'll move you. I figure health will be something for a lot of you, seeing as you'd be listening to this. But don't only just focus on the one thing. Really think about things that will fill your soul. Like, what would be the things that will give you purpose and meaning in your life? What is it you're looking for? And I mean, for some of you, it might be money, because I don't think money really brings us happiness, but I've been broke before, and I know that being sick can be a financial burden for a lot of people. So even if you are putting money on there just because you want to alleviate that burden, I think a lot of times they were more likely to see the benefit of manifestations when they're more based on emotions and they're more based on the feeling of things as opposed to just a material thing. Now, I've seen in that movie, the Laws of Attraction, that apparently the guy had a car on there and then he ended up with that same car. And I don't doubt that there's a possibility for that, but and I guess if that's the thing that's really going to bring you happiness, who am I to say? So maybe I'm wrong in even saying that. I guess if that's your thing and that makes you really happy, then you should put that down, because I do want, in the end of the day, for us all to find things that give us purpose and meaning in our life. And yes, we won't always be happy every day, even when we get any of these things that we manifest. If they all come to us, it doesn't guarantee that every day we're going to be happy, but when you have purpose and you have an intention, you're able to get up and you're able to push through every day, even the days that don't go well, even the days where your MS might act up or things might backslide a bit or something happens to you. We all have things, grief will come to us, loss of a job, loved one. Things change always in life. And when that happens to you, I want you still to have like an overarching purpose in life that came from really meaningful things for you. And those are the kinds of things that would probably be the most impactful and most likely to manifest for you, because the universe does want to give you what it wants. So align yourself with what it is that would really bring you happiness. And really bring you that purpose, and then try to find ways to make actionable changes in your thought and in your behavior to actually bring those about into your life. So I hope that right now, seeing as we are just at equinox and changing of the season, that you guys will take this opportunity to sit down and if this is something, because I know for myself too, it's hard to hold scissors and work tape and glue. So if that's where you are right now and you can't really do the vision board, maybe there's somebody that wants to do it with you, your kids, a partner, a neighbor, a friend, and maybe they could help you actually put the vision board together so you can look at it. And if that's not possible, then just do a mind movie. And honestly, doing both is a good idea. So wherever you are, but there's probably some versions. So if you can't, I know that when I was in my the darkness of my relapse, I couldn't have put together a vision board. But you know what? Just visualizing it with all of the other senses in there, that's powerful. That'll move the needle too. Just repeat it. Why we like it on the board is because we get a visual reminder of it every day when we walk by it. That doesn't mean that you can't do that with something inside your mind. It just means that you have to remind yourself, and whether that is setting an alarm for yourself or some kind of visual clue that you see every day that will tell you to sit down and to visualize that and to feel the joy and the gratitude of all of the things that are in that movie coming true for you. So I guess with that being said, I'm going to leave it off for here today. I can't wait to see what comes true for you in your vision boards as the year passes. Maybe revisit this not just in a year from now, but come back on every solstice and equinox and look at your vision board again and see what things actually worked out for you, what things you might want to tweak, what new things you might want to add. And in the comments below, why don't you share what you put on your board and what was meaningful for you? And I really hope that you do this project and that you really put a lot of thought and intention into it. Really put the emotions to follow up with the things that you're asking for. And with that, I'm going to leave it off there for today. So I want you to have a blessed day. I want you to be blessed in putting this project together, whatever version you want to do. And I want you to have a blessed week and a blessed life. Namaste.